Hello and welcome to Nick's Nerd News. This is where you come to listen to breaking news when it comes to the nerd world. That means we have breaking video game news, movie news, and TV news. If you want to hear about the latest games, the latest movies, and everything else, stick around. Because here's your host, Nick, from a tiny studio in San Diego.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of Nick's Nerd News. Today is the 5th of June. It is episode, 317? Yeah, that's where we're at, folks. 317 episodes. It is June. And that means one thing. Video game news conferences. And they all kicked off last week. Technically, that was May. They all kicked off last week with PlayStation's Sony's State of Play, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, Xbox is coming up. There's also going to be an Ubisoft one on Monday, so we'll have a lot to talk about next week. That's next week, right? Let's not focus on that. Let's talk about what we got going on this week. Well, as I teased a bit last week, I did get featured in a magazine this week, and that was San Diego Voyager magazine. I posted all that on all the socials, of course. I'm sure you guys could see that if you wanted to. It's a whole lot of stuff going on there. You guys can check it out. And then, of course, just posting on socials in general. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well. A little more insight into me if you are new to the channel and the podcast. Maybe some of you are listening this week because of that. So welcome. Welcome, all of you. It's June already, which is wild because we have some wild top stories this week too. How about this? 300 is potentially getting a TV show with Zack Snyder returning to direct at Warner Brothers. So that'd be pretty friggin' cool. I want more 300. I know the second movie didn't get a lot of love. A lot of people didn't really care for it. I thought it was kind of cool. It wasn't as good as the first film, right? So obviously there was going to be disappointment, and Zack Snyder didn't return for it, so that's part of it as well. But I'm sure a TV show would do well in today's world, especially with the volume and not needing as much green screen, or whatever Warner Brothers calls their version of it. Another top story, NVIDIA has topped Apple to become the second most valuable company, valued at $3 trillion. Yes, that's trillion with a T. We'll talk about that. And then I got to see the Acolyte early. Star Wars The Acolyte, the new Disney Plus Star Wars show. Obviously, it came out on Tuesday, but I got to see it on Monday. Talking about it early when it's already out is kind of funny. But we'll have a full review for that of the first two episodes, my thoughts at least on it at the end of the show today. So stick around if you want to hear that, or skip ahead, whatever works for you. Anyway, glad you guys are here. Just general housekeeping. Give us a follow on the socials. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, TikTok. Just search Nick's Nerd News. We're on all of them. Hey, we're on YouTube too, which also means you can listen to the show on YouTube, or you can follow us on socials as YouTube. I post, YouTube shorts if you guys aren't on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. And then also check out nicksnerdnews.com. You guys can listen to the show in the browser, or you can listen to the show on your preferred podcast platform of choice. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, like I said, YouTube. We're on iHeartRadio and several others. So Amazon Music as well. Give us a follow, a like, a subscribe, a share, whatever works for you. Do it, because it's easy for everyone that way, right? You don't need to be forced into one section. I'm not that kind of podcast where I'm only on one platform, right? That'd be wild. How do you build an audience that way? No, I'm kidding. Anyway, that's enough for general housekeeping. Let's get into the news, because we got a bit to talk about, shall we? All right, welcome back. Let's get into the gaming news of the week, because there's a bit. First of it, Netflix has announced a new Minecraft animated series coming later this year. That was unexpected, especially considering the movie has been slow to start. A TV show is coming a lot sooner. Crazy. And then we finally heard a bit from the new co-CEOs of PlayStation, Herman Holst and Hideki Nishino. They've talked about the future and their focus as the CEOs of PlayStation. So they gave a network services business segment at the shareholders meeting or on a conference call. I'm not entirely sure. They want to make sure they focus on quality, of course. They don't want to compromise on it. But they did say that, quote, PlayStation is increasing its use of external development teams, outsourcing partners, and co-development agreements with teams in lower-cost regions. Research and experimentation. We also see opportunities in AI to level up our own productivity and to enhance player experiences, enabling us to better serve players and creators, create new experiences, and drive organization-wide efficiencies, they said. Looks like they're going to use AI, different things. They view Helldivers 2 as a new doorway for them, saying, quote, we are bringing our titles to the PC platform, and we have a dual approach here on the live service side. We're releasing our titles simultaneously, so day and date on PlayStation 5 and PC, but with our tentpole titles, our single-player narrative-driven titles that are, as you saw in the presentation, the backbone of what PlayStation Studios has delivered in recent years, and in our history, we take a more strategic approach. We introduce our great franchises to new audiences, and we're finding new audiences that are potentially going to be very interested in playing, for example, sequels on the PlayStation platform. We have high hopes that we're actually able to bring new players into PlayStation at large and into PlayStation platforms specifically. Actually, the same goes for the work that we do with extending our great properties onto other media, such as television, series, and film, unquote. So essentially what they mean is it's their live service games will be on PC day and date with PlayStation 5. Single player, big name games will be PlayStation only at launch. They talked about outside of PlayStation on other consoles. They're not against it, but they're not exactly focusing on that right now. Talked about the industry, Bungie, obviously because PlayStation owns Bungie now. And then what was it? I saw another thing they said. And they kind of talked about why they need two CEOs, right? Like that's a new thing that's happening. Not always the case everywhere. And in a new message that was published to the Sony website, they said, quote, never been more important for the leadership at Sony Interactive Entertainment to step back, review our business holistically, and move forward with a new structure designed to bring out the best in the organization and deliver increasingly incredible experiences. While having two CEOs is a new structure for SIE, we know this will foster greater creativity and innovation as we look for new ways to grow the business, always keeping our community at the forefront. Two distinct business groups will enable us to have more rigor and clarity across our lines of business as SIE continues to grow and evolve, unquote. I get it. Bigger company, things like that. Kind of going back to what they said about putting their games on PlayStation and they think that will drive up console sales. Most people that are on PC usually don't jump to PS5. They will gladly wait, right? It's I don't know if that strategy is going to work for them. It's Sony being Sony. I don't blame them, right? Of course, they want to drive up console sales, but at the same time, this is when Sony can get a little arrogant, and this is why they need Xbox, they need Nintendo, they need competition, right? Because if you let Sony get to their arrogant position, we have PS3 era Sony again. Just like we had Xbox 360 Xbox, where they got very arrogant as well. So it all really depends. Competition is necessary, of course, but everyone is always going to be a little different with different things. We'll see how it goes. And then, of course, like I said, the Xbox showcase is on Sunday morning. We've now learned that Ubisoft will have their Ubisoft Forward, focusing on Assassin's Creed, Star Wars Outlaws. Some other games will be Monday at noon Pacific. So we'll be talking about both press conferences next week. John Romero, the man behind Doom, who wrote his memoir last year, will be getting a biopic released based on the book. He also helped create Wolfenstein 3D and Quake, of course, working at id Software. This has been reported by Deadline. 2 projects are in the works about the autobiography. A documentary created by Rob McCallum, who is an award-winning Canadian filmmaker, and then a scripted drama series about his life and career. So that's pretty awesome. If you guys want to learn more, you can see that over at Deadline. Todd Howard has been praising Fallout 76 lately. He called it, quote, sneaky popular, unquote, when he spoke with Variety, saying that 20 million people have now played Fallout 76. They passed that number on the 29th of May, 6 years after release. And, of course, praising the Fallout TV show on Amazon Prime for it, saying, quote, depending on the Fallout game, you're looking at 4 to 6 times increase in daily players, which is beyond anything I've seen in my 30 years of doing this. Having an event that brings that many people into games that you have and who have never played your games before, that's a big thing. New players who have never played a game or never played one of our games, it's a really, really unique moment, unquote. Which, again, congrats Todd and Bethesda, but this just shows you the failure of the Halo show on Paramount Plus. Maybe because Paramount Plus isn't as widely used as Amazon Prime Video. I don't know, right? But I don't think people were talking about it as much either. So there's just... I'm always going to be mad about the Halo show in so many ways, and it's frustrating. And I really enjoyed Fallout, and I'm not even the biggest fan of the Fallout games. So it's just like, where was the... I'm going to go on a tangent, and we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Anyway, multiverses. Leaks have come out hinting at potential additional fighters like Aquaman, Powerpuff Girls, and different anime characters. We've also learned that the developers are going to bring back some features that were there last year or the year before when they did that open beta that aren't here back at the launch, which a lot of people were frustrated about. Then also the Iron Giant got pulled, which is really weird. But so Player First Games, the developer, said some of them are coming back. People criticized it, things like that. So I guess they didn't have time to add them in the offline period. That doesn't make sense. But, they switched to Unreal Engine 5. But Anyway, some of those features are coming back. Don't worry if you're playing. Now, let's get to the PlayStation State of Play, the Sony State of Play, and the Silent Hill transmission that followed. Sony announced and showed off trailers for several new games. Most of them kind of underwhelming, if you ask me. Concord, a new 5v5 shooter from Firewalk Studios. Looks to be a hero shooter in the vein of Overwatch. I don't know if it will have objective-based matchmaking. And based on potential leaks, it may have a similar pricing strategy to Helldivers 2, maybe priced around $40, will be on PlayStation and PC at launch. God of War Ragnarok is finally coming to PC. This will happen on September 19th. And a lot of people are frustrated because, again, it's not going to be released in countries that don't have PSN. So it's not really a full PC release, right? Until Dawn will face this as well when it launches on PC. So PSN is only available in 69 countries, but not a lot of other places, which, again, does not make any sense. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? A new Dynasty Warriors was announced for next year called Dynasty Warriors Origins. That will release on PlayStation 5, Xbox, and PC. Infinity Nikki, a new RPG, will launch in a beta sometime this year. Where Winds Meet, an RPG set during the Ten Kingdoms period of China, which was announced last year for PC, will be getting a PlayStation release. It looked kind of cool. Ballad of Antara, another RPG that is a free-to-play game, will release sometime next year. Skydance Games showed off a trailer for their new VR game Behemoth, which will release on PSVR 2 and MetaQuest. A new PSVR 2 game based on the Alien franchise, Alien Rogue Incursion, releases this holiday. Marvel Rivals is getting a closed beta on console on PlayStation in July. No word on if the Xbox version will get a closed beta as well. Until Dawn was announced to get a fall 2024 release. Path of Exile 2 is still slated to release this year and will get an early access launch sometime later this year. We got a release date for Silent Hill 2 Remake of October 8th. Monster Hunter Wilds got a new 4K trailer that everyone's obsessing over. And then a new Astrobot is releasing later this year that Team Asobi is saying will be their biggest game yet. People think that they spotted the PS5 Pro in the trailer for the game. I don't know. Astrobot, whatever the Astrobot game that came with PS5 was kind of fun. Would I buy a full game? I don't know. I don't know. But out of all these games, I think Concord looked the coolest, followed by Where Winds Meet. But other than that, and obviously Dynasty Warriors. I love Dynasty Warriors. There was some gameplay there. Other than that, that was a... I don't know. That was not the greatest PlayStation State of Play I've seen. I've seen a lot, even before they were called State of Play. And again, they're at the top. They don't really need to, have those bangers, right? Those system sellers. So I don't know if they're saving that or if just, again, the pandemic has changed game development in so many ways. So it's interesting for sure to see what they're doing, and then it will be very interesting to see how Xbox does it after their rocky last few months that people are really questioning Xbox right now. So we'll see what happens as rumors swirl and swirl and swirl. But again, I think I'm excited for Dynasty Warriors. Concord looks kind of cool, and Where Winds Meet, I think, is probably one of the best looking games they showed off. There was also a Silent Hill transmission, as Konami called it. Essentially like 10 minutes of Silent Hill 2 remake footage, and then they gameplay, and then they showed off some footage of the Return to Silent Hill movie. So nothing major, really. The Sims has apparently gotten like a battle pass. Yeah, The Sims, of all things. I, yeah, I don't understand how they could get a battle pass. Or okay, it's not really a battle pass, right? There's no shooting or things, but they're timed events that are being released. So The Sims 4 has been out for 10 years. The Sims 4 has been out for 10 years? Jesus. I remember when I played the first Sims, the original. And it's hasn't had timed content. Expansion packs and free editions have been added, but a battle pass style feature to the game's new main menu has been announced. And it's EA announced in a blog post its events section. They're called, quote, limited time experience centered around a fun theme with free rewards or gameplay that adds new opportunities to your game, unquote. What? Each event will be free, 8 rewards over the course of 4 weeks, new rewards being made available each week. You have to launch the game at least 8 different days to claim every reward. Well, at least it's free. You will be able to claim stuff you miss, but people are still not happy about it. At least it's EA and they're not charging for it. I don't know. The company behind the Call of Duty cheat maker, engine owning, is defying the lawsuit they just recently lost and says they will continue to make cheats for Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone after they had to pay Activision millions of dollars after losing the court battle. They lost in the California District, the United States District Court of Central California, and they had to pay Activision over $14 million, as well as almost $300,000 in attorney's fees over unlawful conduct, as the court put it. But, yeah, which I don't know if they'll ever get the website or the money. A lot of people don't think so either, which is kind of crazy. But you can still buy cheats and spoofers from them. And then on their website, they said, quote, this is ridiculous. Saying, quote, we hope and think that our domain registrar will not defer to this bogus claim that would not have been approved by any clear-headed judge with even basic democratic values in a proper jurisdiction, unquote. Okay, there you go, folks. They're big mad, and they can't accept that they fucked up. And they got caught doing it. I don't know. Cheaters never prosper, folks. Cheaters never prosper. Cheaters never prosper. We continued to get more details about NCAA Football 25 from EA Sports, and we learned about what they are calling the Campus IQ, the wear and tear system, and different other features that are available in the new version of the game. Campus IQ, which what they're calling will include the fundamental pillars of college football 25. 22 plus. What is this? How is that Campus IQ? 22 plus, 134 ways to play, stories of Saturday. I don't know what that means. There's 80 different abilities you can have, both physical and mental, and into a 4-tier system, bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. You can have up to 5 physical and 3 mental abilities. They used to have that. Those were Madden abilities back in the day. Wear and tear is a new system that is based on their new physics-based damage system, which is like fatigue. That's cool. Players will have damage and fatigue, displaying every limb and body part of a player. So if you throw a lot in a game as a quarterback and taking hits, it might hurt your throwing power and accuracy. That they used to have that back in the day. Those can carry over into the following week if you're playing Road to Glory or Dynasty mode. That's interesting. Weather conditions will play a bigger role than they ever used to. Option game is being expanded and fixed to be more realistic. Confidence and Composure is a new system that was added as well to allow certain players to maintain their attributes in high-pressure situations. So, like for rivalry games and things like that. But home field advantage is being added, and especially at the Division I level. Oh, it's coming back from NCAA Football 2006 Stadium Pulse Meter, which causes the screen to shake. I remember doing that too. Adjustments to passing and kicking, and then the switch stick, which you can change the direction of coverage. Oh, so that's how you just miss every single interception. That's what that is. So, again, NCAA Football 25 comes out next month. Play dates, which were those little cool, like, I don't know if they're consoles. I don't know what they were. They just were these little wind-up game players. Apparently over 400 of them were stolen a while back. And over $400,000 worth were stolen, excuse me. And now several of those were left at a local restaurant. So, which it was a recent theft, and then they were all recovered because they were delivered to the wrong address. But FedEx mistakenly brought them to a construction site near their warehouse, and then someone dumped them at a random restaurant nearby for Panic, the developers, to pick them up. So they tweeted out, quote, did you hear the story about how $400,000 worth of playdates were misdelivered by a FedEx to a construction site near our warehouse, and then someone just stole them? Seriously. Well, guess what? Got hastily dumped at a random restaurant this morning. Welcome back, stolen playdates, unquote. That was on their tweet. What? That is wild. Hey, FedEx is accepting blame, though, so that's good on them. Good on them. Good on them. The boss of Valorant has penned an open letter to toxic players and telling them to essentially fuck off. No, I'm being more colorful. On Twitter, the head of Valorant Studio, Anna Donlin, who works at Riot, said, quote, too often it takes someone experiencing the worst behaviors, something egregious, something painful, something threatening, for us to be better understand where the gaps in our systems and processes are, and that's exactly what we're experiencing and addressing right now. We've been working on systems and technologies, and we're actually have been making a lot of progress, but having large global player communities presents unique challenges, evolving challenges. We are taking actions to improve the state of player behavior in the game. If you want to make evil statements under the guise of shit talk, you aren't welcome here, unquote. You know what? Hell yeah. Go after the toxic fucking people. They're not shit talking when they say certain things. That's when they get vitriolic and nasty, and that is way beyond shit talking. That is just a negative, toxic ass person. No business for them to be in a community like that. Zero. I praise Riot for finally doing something good in their communities, because, yeah. The Embracer Group is weighing the idea of selling games for more than $70. We literally just got games at $70. They can't go up again. CEO Lars Wingfors, who recently laid off thousands of staff, of course, and closed studios over the last year or so. Like, dude, you are the last person to say we need to charge more. He said, quote, speaking to gamesindustry.biz, quote, I'm not saying you can't increase the price, but the reality is no one has tried it. If you create an enormous role-playing game, for example, with 100 or 150 hours of gameplay, very polished, and a unique experience, would the consumer be willing to pay more? If they would have more products potentially coming to market, but no one tried it. It's something we've been discussing, but we are currently sticking to the practice of the industry. Would it be that one company one day that tries to increase pricing? That remains to be seen, unquote. Okay. Then we get into the argument of, am I getting my money's worth? And that is a dangerous conversation to be had in games, because You then start focusing on it's X amount of money per hour, right? And people will start weighing games based on that as opposed to if the game was good or not. You could pay $70 for an 8-hour game, but that 8-hour game is amazing. Or you can pay $70 for like a 200-hour game, and that game sucks fucking balls. So you can't be getting into the argument that, oh, because of X amount of hours or content or whatever, I need to charge this. When you start doing things like that, you're also alienating certain members of the gaming community or potential customers. I'm not saying games need to be cheap. I'm not saying that, right? But when you start charging more and more and more for games, people are going to be buying less and less and less games, especially in the world we live in today where inflation is high across the globe, right? Not just here in the US. I mean, it's a lot higher in other parts of the world. So when you start charging more for games, people who already only buy like 2 or 3 games a year are going to cut down to maybe 1 or 2 games a year, or maybe just 1. Yes, there's tons of players and things like that, but then you're shrinking your market when you do that. It's the same reason when they charge like $100-something for like a special edition. Not everyone's fucking buying that. Not everyone. So when you start charging that much for games, and I understand the argument that games haven't gone up in price in decades, right? You gotta weigh how things work across the board. And I get his logic. I do. I really do. I understand how much it costs to make a game nowadays, to make sure your employees and developers paid properly. I totally understand that. But at the same time, you have to understand when you start doing that, you're going to start losing customers, which that's going to be a double-edged sword. It is a double-edged sword. And when you are already the head of a company that has laid off thousands, and I mean thousands of people, and closed multiple studios, you are the last person who should be saying, maybe we raise the price of games. That is the thing we don't want to get into at all. I'll leave that at that. The New York Times has announced that they are going after the game World Lull. And if you're wondering if I'm jumbling up words, you're not wrong. World Lull is a popular game that came out after the hype of Wordle, which the New York Times owns. Wordle, of course, is a viral word-guessing game. World Lull, on the other hand, and I played World Lull. I know it sounds strange saying it's world, like the word world, like the world, the earth, lull, L-E. And even though they said that the New York Times was, quote, fine with similar games, unquote, last year, per the BBC, they've accused the creator of World Lull, Corey McDonald, of, quote, unquote, creating confusion. But, World Lull changed to Google Street View. It used to be they'd show you the outline of a country, and you'd have to guess what country it was. That's interesting that they're going after it. Wow, that's sucks, but I don't know what to say. Netflix has also released a trailer for their upcoming Tomb Raider anime that we have known about for years at this point, with Haley Atwell, I think, voicing Laura. The show finally drops in October. The trailer looks sick. That drops on Netflix on October 10th. Asus has shown off their next handheld gaming PC, the ROG Ally X, the Republic of Gamers. ROG. I think that's how they pronounce it, ROG. But the ROG Ally X was announced part of their Computex 2024 announcements. It will have better battery life, RAM, storage, and more than their previous ROG Ally. It is black instead of white, but it has a new 1 terabyte M.2 2280 SSD storage. It will still have a micro SD slot for external storage options and an additional 24 gig of LPDDR5 7500 RAM. They also said battery life has improved with a new 80 watt-hour battery, and there's an additional vent which will help thermals and things like that. It will be up to 6 degrees Celsius cooler than the previous version. The new X also will utilize Windows 11, and it will use the same AMD Z1 Extreme CPU processors and RNDA 3 AMD Radeon graphics cards. It has the same 7-inch LCD display supporting up to 1080p and a refresh rate that caps at 120 Hz, but will support AMD FreeSync Premium. So it's not a second version, just an upgraded version, as they are more likely making it out. So we'll see if this is an actual contender for the Steam Deck. It is available for pre-order. Will retail for $799.99, $800. Hyperkin has announced that their remake of the S controller of the original Xbox, what they're calling the Duchess replica controller, will release this August. Pre-orders start next month. No price has been announced just yet. That PSVR 2 PC adapter that we talked about that was rumored last week has officially got a release date. It will release on August 7th via PlayStation, allowing your PSVR 2 to connect to a PC. And PC support was announced in February. The adapter will be $59.99 and connects with a USB-C connector from the PSVR 2, and it will allow you to play games like Half-Life Alyx without a Valve Index or Meta Quest, essentially. But it doesn't come with everything. You will need to purchase a DisplayPort cable. Wow. And a VR-ready gaming PC. And a Steam account. Oh, look at that. So it just allows you to play Steam VR games. Interesting. I guess they just want to find more people to buy the PSVR 2 because no one's buying it. Baldur's Gate 3 will finally be getting mod support in September, Larian announced. Naughty Dog has also announced that they are working on multiple projects as they don't want to be the Last of Us studio forever. Which Neil Druckmann has said that, quote, multiple single-player projects, unquote, are in the works while speaking with the Los Angeles Times. Saying, quote, I promise you, we will not be the Last of Us studio forever. Unquote. Cool, Neil. Obviously, you're working on other games. I mean, do people want a Last of Us 3? Yes, they do, but stop re-releasing The Last of Us 2 every 5 months. So, a while back, we talked about Katsuhiro Harada, who is the head of Tekken, and people had hit him up about putting Waffle House into Tekken 8 as a stage. And obviously there's a lot of legal issues surrounding that. And he took a different approach this time about Waffle House, as people have essentially reached out to explain the culture around Waffle House. And I personally have never been to one, but I live on the internet. I know about the culture. I know about the memes, and I know it's not indicative of every Waffle House, but it has a reputation at this point. He tweeted out, quote, I've already received tons of information from everyone about this store before, but let me ask one question from a different angle this time. Why do fights like this happen between waitstaff and customers happen so often in the restaurant? I've never seen plates and chairs flying around like this, especially in Japan. And the composition is not customer versus customer, but customer versus waiter. I don't think it is simply because it is open 24 hours and there are many drunks. What kind of culture is this? I need to learn more about American society, unquote. Yep, yeah, you do, bud. There's no way to fully explain Waffle House. I can't even explain it. I live in this country, but I don't live in the South where the Waffle Houses are. So I'm hoping maybe he comes out and he can see it for his own eyes. Avalanche, the studio behind the Just Cause games, has announced that they will be closing 2 studios in New York and Montreal and laying off 50 employees in what they are calling a, quote, exceptionally difficult decision, unquote. Again, the layoffs continue into 2024. In a blog post on their website, they said, quote, our focus is now supporting all Avalanchers through this challenging time. We're grateful for the invaluable contributions of those leaving and remain committed to creating incredible gaming experiences for our players, unquote. They also said that, quote, necessary to ensure a stable and sustainable future for the company, unquote. It sucks. It really does. Hopefully, from my understanding, though, a lot of these people have been landing new jobs. It seems like, given the unemployment rate in the country is still pretty low. And a positive update after Microsoft closed Arcane Austin, it looks like a lot of the developers at Arcane Austin were moved to other Bethesda studios. So it looks like they didn't all lose their jobs. So there is some highlights to some of this bad news. And then, following that up, we've also learned that Behavior Interactive is also laying off staff, around 95 people at their offices. Sad news, shitty news. But it's part of the business, I guess. I don't know. I don't fucking know. It's hard to talk about positive news after that. I don't know. Amazon has announced a new live-action video game adaptation, this time based on the Yakuza or Like a Dragon series from Sega. It will be titled Like a Dragon Yakuza and will release this October, a live-action adaptation. And then, okay, we're in the apocalypse, people. We are in the fucking apocalypse. You want to know how I know we're in the fucking apocalypse and life is a fucking joke? IKEA will now start paying people £15 per hour or €14.80 per hour to work at a virtual IKEA in Roblox. Via the coworker game, it said, IKEA said, quote, fans will be able to live their home furnishing dreams and get paid for it, with a limited number of paid roles available. The immersive experience gives players the opportunity to experience IKEA's unique approach to careers, where nonlinear career journeys are the norm and lateral moves across departments are commonplace. Unquote. Applications run from June 16th until the game launches itself, June 24th. There are paid shifts on offer for 10 people who successfully apply. God damn it. I don't know if Americans are allowed to. Oh, you have to be in the UK or Republic of Ireland to apply. God fucking damn it. We're in the apocalypse, people. The apocalypse. Working at IKEA in Roblox. I don't fucking get it, man. I don't know. The Final Shape has finally launched on Destiny 2, but I'm sure none of you got to play. The servers essentially crashed, but hours of error messages, hours-long queue times, and being met with the message, quote, Destiny 2 servers are not available, unquote. Jesus. Apparently more than 200,000 players logged in and to try and get into it at launch, but it didn't work. But hey, the Final Shape is now live, and apparently Destiny 3 is being hinted and teased at. I don't know. In a weird, interesting update, PlayStation 5 boxes are no longer supporting the 8K badge. So, they used to have an 8K visual badge at launch, since launch. Now they're not there. So, it only has the 4K 120 and HDR, but I guess no longer 8K. But John Linneman of Digital Foundry tweeted, quote, "So they apparently removed the 8K from the box on PS5s. Haha, that's pretty funny and should have been done years ago. It's pretty obvious that not only is 8K not suitable for these machines, aside from the tourist, but 8K displays are not desirable. I wouldn't want one," unquote. First off, 8K TVs are probably thousands upon thousands of dollars. And I don't think anything is anything even 8K? There's only one game that's 8K, and it's called The Tourist, spelled Touruyst. So both consoles can do 8K, but I don't think it will ever be a standard in video games. Like 4K is widely adopted at this point, and that still took years. So 8K is, I don't even know what 8K looks like. And our final bit of gaming news, very late into the cast today, NVIDIA, this is one of our major stories, NVIDIA has become the second most valuable company on the globe, hitting a $3 trillion market cap. This is the first time they've done it. They've surpassed Apple, which is number 2. They are only behind Microsoft. Microsoft. Per CNBC, NVIDIA shares closed 5% up at $1,224.40 per share, giving them the market cap of $3.01 trillion. Puts them ahead of Apple, which is at $2.9 trillion or $3 trillion, and Microsoft, which is at $3.15. So both companies have a bit of a ways to catch up to Microsoft. Totally doable. That is insane. And it's mainly because of AI. And they've been helping with AI a lot. NVIDIA stock has soared more than 3,000% over the last 5 years per CNBC. And they had a first quarter earnings of $26 billion last month, which is more than triple its earnings from the same point a year ago. They want to release AI chips year after year on a yearly basis, essentially. But good on NVIDIA. Look at them, chugging along. Anyway, that is it for gaming news. Let's head on up the 5 freeway, see what's going on in Hollywood, shall we? All right, guys, welcome back. I don't know why I was going to say what's up. We're in the middle of the podcast, right? It's funny because I was listening to it. I've been catching up on Bill Burr's Monday Morning Podcast, and I was listening to the episode that was during the eclipse a couple months back, and he was recording, and he's like, "Hold on, I'm a pause, and we're gonna come in with a recorded thing from after the eclipse or whatever." And then they fit it in the middle, and it's like, yeah, whatever. You'll come back to me wherever they put it in the edit. And I'm like, I felt like that's what I was doing right here. Like, hey, welcome back. Like, we didn't go anywhere. Nice little side tangent. Anyway, what's going on in Hollywood? Viggo Mortensen is open to returning as Aragorn for the Hunt for Golem movie, which honestly, I think you kind of have to have Aragorn. I think he's involved in the Hunt for Gollum in the books. So they'd obviously have to just de-age him a bit because he has aged a bit himself. I know Aragorn is an older fellow, but I'd like to see Viggo back. I think people would be happy. Ryan Reynolds showed off the popcorn bucket for Deadpool and Wolverine, which, of course, inspired by the Dune 2 bucket, as we can accurately call 2024 the year of the war of the popcorn buckets, the Deadpool and Wolverine popcorn bucket features a bucket with Wolverine's open mouth and tongue that you reach into. Obviously, very sexual in nature after what happened with the outrageousness surrounding the Dune 2 popcorn bucket. So, of course, they decided to one-up it. Obviously, they couldn't go too crazy because it still is under the Marvel Studios banner and Disney. So, anyway, Batman Ninja is getting a sequel. The great Batman Ninja anime that's released several years ago is getting a sequel called Batman Ninja versus the Yakuza League. That's going to be shown off later this year. The same voice cast and filmmakers are returning. Kathleen Kennedy, the head of Lucasfilm, in the lead up to the release of the Acolyte, called out the toxicity in the Star Wars fan base. And obviously the people she's calling out are going to shit on her as usual. I have really no issue with Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, yes, there's been decisions made that I don't agree with, but I don't think she's incompetent. The woman's been involved in Hollywood for over 40 years and has produced some of the greatest films in fandom. So when people shit on her, it's for dumb, stupid, fucking misogynistic reasons usually. But she called out some of the toxicity in the fandom, and I finally applaud her for finally saying something. Lucasfilm in general has kind of been mum when the fandom lashes out at creators involved in it. Like, we all know what happened with Ahmad Best back when the prequels first came out. We all know what happened with Jake Lloyd, and then what happened with Rosemary Tran, and Rose is her character name, Kelly Marie Tran, and how people lashed out at her after The Last Jedi and stuff. And Lucasfilm hasn't really always spoken out against it, but speaking with the New York Times, she talked about the importance of representation and things like that in Star Wars, especially with the Acolyte coming out, featuring another female lead, this time being the first Star Wars property to be created by a woman. And, of course, Kathleen said, quote, "My belief is that storytelling does need to be representative of all people. Does need to be representative of all people. That's an easy decision for me. Operating within these giant franchises now with social media and the level of expectation, it's terrifying. I think Leslie has struggled a little bit with it. I think a lot of the women who step into Star Wars struggle with this a bit more because of the fan base being so male-dominated. They sometimes get attacked in ways that can be quite personal," unquote. So it's very, very good for her to say this. And this is true. It's been the case for a very long time. I know there's a story that floats around the internet about a girl who wanted to create a costume and they didn't have that, and just how people have treated female Star Wars fans for a long time, how people have treated females within Star Wars for a long time. We see it time and time again. Look at the whole thing with the Slave Leia outfit, right? And how that was even treated at Star Wars conventions and Comic-Con and other things. And yes, it's obviously a male-dominated fandom, right? Especially with Star Wars. But and I've called them out. I've called toxic fans out a lot. And sometimes maybe I've said some stupid shit. And I'll own that. I will. Okay? And obviously just keep growing as a person. And I don't want to call it woke. And it's not woke. It's really fucking not. That's a term I fucking hate. That people have abused and twisted and just... It's called just being a good fucking person, right? And if you don't like it, you don't like it. Don't start saying hateful, hurtful, vitriolic shit because the person's different from you or you just don't agree with it. You cannot agree. You can have an opinion and not like it. But the minute your opinion turns into because of X, because of Y, because of this, because of that, where it's about a person and how they live their life, your opinion starts to turn into an invalidation of that person, right? And I'm not saying your opinion's wrong. It's your opinion. You are allowed to have it. But when you don't like a Star Wars project because of the person and not because of what it does good or bad or filming techniques or writing, but because it was done by a black person or a woman or a gay person or whatever, because it's that, then you've lost me. You've lost me. You lose a lot of other people because now your opinion is based on a stereotype or just a preconceived notion that something isn't for you because that type of person made it, right? And I'm probably not explaining things properly and putting my foot in my mouth, right? Especially now that it's June and it's Pride Month, and that pisses a lot of people off too. But I agree with Kathleen Kennedy, right? And I don't care about representation. I just want a good Star Wars product. And I don't care if it's a female lead, a woman making it, or whatever. That's not what I'm going to judge it off of. If that's the type of person making it, good on them. Good on them, and I'm happy they're getting the opportunity. What I'm going to judge it by is if it's good or not. And that is where you'll hear me have major issues with The Rise of Skywalker and The Force Awakens. And those are done by dudes, right? There's been stuff done by women that I very much enjoy and I don't hate just because a woman did it. There's things I hate because all types of people made it. It has nothing to do with who they go home to or what their fucking face looks like. And that's what pisses me off when people say stupid ass shit because of this or because of that, or it's woke. Like, no, it's fucking not. It's just, hey, there's people that don't look like you. Give them something to root for too. And just because it's that doesn't mean it's not for you. People just assume that a show or something is not for them because it doesn't involve them or their type or who they are. And that's not always the case. It's not. And people and things on both sides have to understand that too, because it happens on the other side. Like, oh no, that's not for you. That's not for your group of people. We made it for us. Like that's not constructive either. It doesn't happen as often, so I'm not going to call it out as a major problem. It's not. There's pockets of it. It's more of an issue on the other side for sure, with the woke bullshit that people complain about. Again, it's not woke. It's just being fucking kind to other people and understanding that not everyone's going to fucking look like you. What happened to not judging a book by its cover, right? The fucking golden rule. Do unto others as you do unto whatever. I don't fucking know. I don't read that book. But it's gotten lost in this polarized society we live in. And now everything is just fucking judged by bullshit parameters. Just fucking watch it to watch it. Who gives a shit if it's a dude or a chick or a trans person? Like, just fucking watch it and judge it on its merit, not because of who's starring in it or who wrote it or who directed it. Judge it because it's how it treats Star Wars, not for anything else. But when you start judging it because it's a woman who wrote it, or stars focuses on women, or this or that, you lost me. You lost me because you're not judging it on that. Oh, George wouldn't do that. Well, guess fucking what? If you don't like woke shit, well, I got news for you. George Lucas is probably a woke dude. All right? If you don't like woke shit, the dude, A, continued to support the current Disney leadership, and B, contributes a lot of money to the left side of the political spectrum. So before you start saying George, 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 wake up and see the reality of things. I see it with Star Trek too. But good on Kathleen Kennedy. I'm happy she finally said something. Just people need to just grow up and accept that not everything is going to be for them, or look at, not every character in a movie or TV show is going to look like them, act like them, parrot things and their ideologies. And I think people have forgotten that lately. And this got really deeper than I wanted it to. Anyway, we got a final trailer for the Umbrella Academy's final season, which airs later in August on Netflix, being dubbed The Final Timeline. And it looks like we're going to get some different timeline shenanigans with different characters and different versions of our favorite characters. Such a good show. Such a good show. We've also learned that Pixar may be doubling down on its established franchises and continuing with sequels after the last few years have kind of rocked Pixar and its stability. In a new Bloomberg report, which has done a deep dive into Pixar's future, as they shift to focus back on theatrical films, especially with Inside Out 2 releasing this month. And it looks like, via Bloomberg's report, says, quote, every hit of yesterday is being considered for a reboot, with Finding Nemo and The Incredibles regarded as particularly strong candidates for new titles, unquote. I'm cool with Incredibles 3. Maybe have the kids be older. I don't know how you do a third Finding Nemo movie, though. Is it Finding Marlin? Do we finally do that? We did Finding Nemo. We did Finding Dory. Now we're Finding Marlin, the dad. And then they want to make 3 movies every 2 years, saying, quote, with every other title a sequel or spin-off, and the rest standalone concepts or potential seeds for new franchises, unquote. That's from the Bloomberg article. So we'll see. We've also learned that Pete Docter, Pixar Chief Creative Officer, specifically touched on Finding Nemo as a point of interest. He said, quote, where else have we not gone in the ocean? The ocean's a big place. I think there's a lot of opportunity there. We're kind of fishing around, haha, unquote. Hey, a pun. A pun. But it'll be interesting future for Pixar, that's for sure. I'll end up watching them at some point. New on HBO Max or whatever the fuck you want to call it is a documentary about MoviePass. MoviePass famously, had that $10 a month deal, see any movie every day. Well, I've learned a lot about MoviePass that I didn't know. And it was a little shocking to me. The company was essentially stolen from its founders. That $10 deal was not supposed to be long-term and ended up killing the company because the people who put it in place, all they cared about was fast profits and scam. It turned out that maybe it was a scam and things like that. But luckily, the original founders of MoviePass were able to come back and take back the brand. If you guys want to check out that documentary, it's called MoviePass Movie Crash on Max. Mahershala Ali is in talks to join Scarlett Johansson in the 4th Jurassic World film due out next year. How are they still negotiating? The movie is supposed to come out in a year. How are you going to get a movie like that done in a year? Animatronics, special effects, it doesn't make sense. Chris Hemsworth is in talks to join the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover film, which was recently greenlit. I'm excited for that. He is, of course, already working with Hasbro and Paramount, as he will be voicing young Optimus Prime Orion Pax in the upcoming animated Transformers 1 movie due out later this year. Ready Player One is becoming more of a reality, as author Ernest Cline has revealed the Readyverse. They have teamed up with Spielberg, and I guess I don't know if it's going to be on Meta platforms because it's part of the metaverse, but it's based on the movie version of Ready Player One. And yeah, the Readyverse. Jesus, why couldn't you just call it the... fuck, what do they call it in the book, in the movie? The, I don't remember, and I love the book. The movie's really cool, too. Oh, man. I don't remember at all. You select an avatar with swappable and tradable wardrobe items. An AI curator will craft your experience, building different AI-generated personal environments. It will use, quote, Web3 and AI GC technologies to create a next-gen immersive and interoperable launcher for discovering metaverse games and experiences, unquote. But I don't know how this is going to work. The Oasis. That's what it was called. I knew it was an O. I just forgot what the word was. I don't know how I feel about that. Bill Skarsgård is returning to play Pennywise in the upcoming Welcome to Derry It prequel series. So it will have continuity with the remake films, and Andy Muschietti is returning to direct. The Dungeons & Dragons live-action show that was going to be at Paramount Plus has been pulled by the network as they, I guess, don't want to make it anymore. But Hasbro's announced they're gonna go back to the drawing board essentially and shop it around to other networks. In one of our other major stories, a 300 show may be in the works at Warner Brothers, with Zack Snyder potentially returning. It's in early development via Variety. It will be a prequel to the 2006 film. Director and co-writer Snyder is in talks to come back to direct and executive produce it. And Deborah Snyder is also in talks to join as an executive producer. That's Zack Snyder's wife. She was an executive producer on the original film. No writer or anything like that or platform. Maybe on Max, obviously, if Warner Brothers does it. But my only thing is that you got to bring back Gerard Butler as Leonidas, especially if it's a prequel. You got, "This is Sparta," and then kick somebody in a hole. Giancarlo's mystery MCU role has been spotted on the set of the Captain America 4 reshoots, hinting that he may be in the film. And then also we've learned that Daniel Bruhl hopes to return as Baron Zemo at some point because his character's not dead. We'll see if he's in... I thought he was supposed to be in the Thunderbolts. I don't know. Godzilla Minus One of my favorite movies last year. I think it was my favorite movie last year, though, actually, if I remember correctly. Shadow dropped on Netflix this weekend with a dub and a sub version. So if you never caught Godzilla Minus One while it was in theaters for a short while, you can watch it on Netflix now. You can also purchase it and rent it in America as well. Bronwyn, the character, one of the major characters from the first season of Rings of Power, will not return in the second season as the actress who plays her has stepped away from acting to help fight for justice for women in her home country of Iran. So that's a major storyline. I don't know how it's going to be without her. We got a new trailer for Venom: The Last Dance, the final film in the Venom franchise, and all I can take away is that there's a Venom horse now, other than the other symbiotes they showed off, but there's a Venom horse, and also it kind of shits on the Spider-Man No Way Home cameo of Venom. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. Elle Fanning is in talks to join the next Predator film, separate from the Prey 2 film that is still in the works and still coming. Chris Miller, one of the executive producers behind the Spider-Verse movies, has said that there will be no generative AI in the upcoming third film, Beyond the Spider-Verse, promising to respect artists' integrity and their original art. The commercial-free version of Max is going up $1 ahead of the Season 2 release of House of the Dragon. $1 from $15.99 to $16.99, so if you didn't know, that's coming. We got a new trailer for Alien Romulus, the next film in the Alien franchise, and all I'm going to say is that Aliens' horror roots are definitely back. The film is being directed by Fede Alvarez, who did the last Evil Dead movie, and this movie looks good. It comes out later this year. And on top of that, we are getting the show based in the Alien franchise on FX, and the timeline has been essentially laid out. Alien Romulus takes place between Alien and Aliens, because there was like a multi-decade gap, technically, in the movies between them. And the new show will be set at the end of this century, just before the Prometheus film. I guess Sean Levy impressed everyone at Marvel Studios with Deadpool and Wolverine, as he is now the frontrunner to direct Avengers 5 for the studio. Whatever it ends up being now that it's being retooled with the loss of Kang. Because I think that was supposed to be Secret Wars. Was Secret Wars? Yes, that was supposed to be Secret Wars. Because Kang Dynasty, was Kang Dynasty 4? I don't even remember anymore. One of those was supposed to be Secret Wars, 4 or 5. Netflix has announced a Peaky Blinders movie to wrap up the series, with Cillian Murphy returning to star in the film. I know there's a lot of Peaky Blinders fans out there. I'm sure they're happy to hear this. Maybe not happy that it's not another season, but at least it will get a conclusion. Eli Roth is apparently writing and directing a new Hostel series based on the Hostel film series, this time starring Paul Giamatti in the show. The people behind the Last of Us TV show on Max said that while Season 2 will be shorter than the first season, if they do get a Season 3, it will be larger and more fulfilling. I don't know what they meant by it being larger. And then I do want to talk about the Acolyte. I did get to see... So Star Trek Discovery ended last week, too. Good ending. There was a time jump. And it also tied back to Star Trek Enterprise. Not going to go too deep. I know a lot of people don't watch Disco. And even less people watch Star Trek Discovery. Or Star Trek Enterprise. Let's shift to the other Star franchise with Star Wars. The Acolyte premiered yesterday on Disney Plus, and I got to see it actually on Monday night at a fan screening, I guess, or a pre-screening, whatever you want to call it. Star Wars put it on their Instagram the other day, and you can sign up through Fandango. It was a first come, first serve. I ended up going. Had to sit in the two front rows, so that kind of sucked. No wonder my neck's been bugging me. That makes sense. No. I forgot. Anyway, the show, watching it on a big screen was cool. I really like The Acolyte. And it's not the best Star Wars show, but it's up there in what Disney Plus has been putting out for the last few years. It's definitely top 3 with Mando and Ahsoka. Or no, with Andor and Ahsoka. Because it feels like the prequels in a lot of ways, in a lot of good ways. And it feels like a live-action Clone Wars episode. That's what one of my friends said, and I agreed. Another friend said it feels like a Star Wars police procedural, and again, I agree. And it feels lived in. It feels like they took it right out of the High Republic. I'm not the biggest fan of the High Republic. It's actually one of the few things I have not dived too deep into in terms of the new Star Wars canon. And again, the whole idea of it is something that's off-putting for me, because you had the old Republic, but then you choose in the new canon to go a few hundred years before the Phantom Menace and act like the galaxy finally like exploded into what it was. I don't like that idea. I know I'm being nitpicky and dumb, but whatever. Thrawn's in the new canon and I'm fine. I didn't read every single aspect of the old expanded universe either, so this is not a new thing for me. But no, I like it, and surprisingly, there's almost all new alien races, and that kind of threw me off a bit, because it's like when you're not used to seeing the races you're used to in Star Wars, there's like a bit of a uncanny valley moment, right? It's like, whoa, what are those? I've never seen that. This isn't Star Wars, but then you got to remember it is. It's just the Star Wars galaxy is huge, and only showing the same fucking races all the time makes the galaxy feel small. And we're not on Tatooine for the first time in a while in a Star Wars show. So there's that for sure. But I'm really digging it. Lee Jung-jae as Master Soul, one of the best parts of the show. I found out he learned English for this role, so that's wild. Amandla Stenberg, is that her name? I know her name is Amandla. Her playing the dual role is interesting. She could use a little bit better on her. Amandla Stenberg. She can use a little bit better on her line delivery, but it's Star Wars. Line delivery's always been whack. The fighting, the choreography has been really good. There's a lot of wire work, which is awesome to see. The Jedi, seeing the Jedi at like their height is also very cool. It'll be very interesting. It's just the first 2 episodes, but I am excited to see where it goes. I'm liking it so far. Like I said, it feels like the prequels. It feels more lived in. It's the farthest removed we've been from the Skywalker saga in all of the franchise, and the farthest pointing back in time that we've seen on screen. So I'm excited to see where it goes, and it's kind of like a mystery show, and I'm sure there will be flashbacks. But if you're a big Star Wars fan, I would check out the Acolyte. If you're not the biggest Star Wars fan, I wouldn't necessarily recommend this show first. Andor's definitely a good place to jump in, other than the movies. But the Acolyte, also, I don't understand like some of the hate it's getting on Metacritic and Rotten. The theater I was in, which obviously it's Star Wars fans, they're going to see it, right, was full of laughter and enjoyment. A lot of comments I'm seeing in different places also do not match the negative user reviews I'm seeing. So people are going to hate it because of what I was talking about before with Kathleen Kennedy, just because, without even watching it or writing it off. But The Acolyte is a show that I'm excited to see where they go with it. And I like seeing new ships that fit the Star Wars mold and aren't kind of boring like what a lot of the ships in the sequel trilogy were. I'm a big ship guy. And again, I want to see where they go with Lee Jung-jae as Master Soul. And Carrie-Anne Moss, in her brief screen time in the first 2 episodes, I can see why they're like, yeah, you can call her Trinity, Jedi Trinity, because it works. So if they continue that with like the fighting and the wire work and the fight choreography, the show's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, and people are going to end up liking it a lot more than I think they expected to. But that is it for Nick's Nerd News this week. I know it was a bit of a long episode, but it is June 5th, like I said. I will catch you guys on the flip side, and next week we'll have a recap of the Xbox Game Showcase and the Ubisoft Forward. So, and maybe a review of the new Bad Boys film. Other than that, like I said, I'll catch you guys on the flip side.
This has been a production of Nick's Nerd News. Please do not use without implicit permission. And yes, that means